You asked for this. Once again, I am delving into the depths of not-so-recent memory to try and explain to you what happened in the Epic of Remnant chapters in Fate Grand Order. This one may be easier to a degree, because I like them more than the first part of the story, and on my alt account I recently finished Agartha again, and it was a slog. No kidding here, it took me months to finish it because I remembered the beats of it and I just wanted it all to end. This is the only exception in the 4 chapters. I apologize to the writer of this one, it just wasn't for me. Anyway, let's do this thing. Where were we? Yeah, that's right, goths and motorcycles. I'll be real with you, I don't remember how we got into Shinjuku. I know that Mash is now in physical therapy for being killed with a laser, Nagatoro's senpai is dead, and Da Vinci is now in charge of things. There's a lot of exposition about how the slug chick from Monsters Inc. was going to tell us about all the paperwork that we have to do. And despite us saving the world, the upper class was pissed that we did. So before Child Protective Services gets involved and brings us home, we teleport to the distant past of the 1990s where City Pop is still kind of relevant. We screw up the teleport again, but this time the Goddess of Thighs isn't there to save us. In her place is an escaped nursing home patient with roller skates. He grabs us out of the air and tells us about gas prices. He takes us to a subway station where people with machine guns explain that the bullets don't have casting time. He then takes us to his man cave where he offers us a drink, which we decline. He goes on and on about how he doesn't know who he is and how he can't remember his dog's face until a dog appears in front of him. The dog belongs to the King Arthur without her Ahoga that we killed previously. However, she is dressed in a black jacket and shorts and drives a motorcycle, making her a stylish alter, or salter for short. We feed the dog a hamburger and then one to Salter, both wag their tails. We are told that there are 4 evil forces at work in Shinjuku: a wolf that eats people, an assassin that can beat anyone at any time, an assassin who is so shit they made him into a berserker to be challenging to fight against, and a mysterious 4th force that we don't know anything about. We travel the streets with Salter and watch a bunch of puppets kidnap a guy and turn him into a puppet by ripping out his organs and stuffing them into a doll. We decide that this is going to increase the age restriction on the App Store, so we go for the Puppet Master. He and his blow-up doll attack us, and we easily beat them because he's shit even as a better class. However, the blow-up doll pops, revealing the Yaoi Dojin guy. He tells us that he has no name and disappears, and I think that's when the wolf shows up. The wolf is actually kind of hard to fight because he spams defense up like a bitch. We manage to escape because another goth shows up and pokes him in the eye with a stick. She seems to be constantly jilted about something, so we call her Jolter. We take her back to the escaped patient's man cave where he's looking through his old yearbook, desperately trying to find his name. He doesn't. We devise a plan to take down the Dojin guy who is hanging out in a hotel. The 2 goths fight over who gets to snog us first. Ultimately, Salter wins, and we sneak into the hotel. We romantically slow dance and watch a lot of drug use before we set the whole place on fire. We corner Dojin guy and stab him in the tattoo. He dies, I think. The scent of death triggers the wolf to come kill us. We manage to escape because Jolter hits him with the newspaper. She then trips and falls into a sewer. We go back to the nursing home man cave and the old man tells us that in his youth he once had a white dog. This strikes the group as a way to bait out the wolf and fight him on their own turf, using Salter's burger dog to lure him out. The scent of grease, cheese, meat, lettuce, tomato, all combined on a toasted sesame seed bun for the low, low price of $5.99 USD leads the wolf out of hiding where we attempt to take it down. However, an airhead attempts to stop us. He fails and we take the wolf down. Now our final target is the mysterious opponent that we don't know who it is, except we do because they revealed it earlier and the Fate silhouettes are easily distinguishable, especially because we've been staring at one the whole time. Oh yeah, Shakespeare is there being made to make monsters. Completely forgot about that. Anyway, we show up and find the evil side of the nursing home patient or something. He tells us that he has made a gun and is going to create a persona for the planet by shooting in the head with an asteroid. We knock over his cane, he slips a disc and vanishes. However, we didn't fully win yet because, would you believe it, the nursing home patient with us forgot he had dementia and remembered that he was a villain. He summons one of the hentai monsters we killed last chapter who escaped, I guess. In response, we summon the spirits of detective novel heroes who weren't Sherlock Holmes, so they're not eligible for the Throne of Heroes. We then knock over his cane, he slips a disc and disappears. The hentai monster turns into sand and we go home. I think Sherlock was there at some point cosplaying as Dante's, and I think it means that this was a dream or reality or something like that, but I don't know, man. Also, I think that at some point Jolter pulls us aside and dances with us because she didn't get to dance with us initially. Next up, we learn that various servants are disappearing around Chaldea. We are able to trace it to an underground chasm, so we get our 2 cutest delivery boys to accompany us to see what's up. We land in a field and notice that the sky is made of mud. However, a bunch of glowstone keeps it seeming like a regular day-night cycle, which is actually kind of cool. Our cute boy party decides that we should go for a picnic. However, we are interrupted by some naked women trying to catch some not naked men. They exposition us that those are Amazons and then my tomboy wife shows up. Astolfo pours monster energy into her eyes and we can make a run for it, seeing that we are clearly outmatched. We encounter another nursing home patient with dementia, which seems to be a trend here. Or it's an excuse for poor writing. I didn't say that. Anyway, he tells us that the men get snoo-snooed by Amazons, which doesn't seem so bad, but that there's a pirate village where the queen is a bigger thought than Maeve, and that there's a Chinese city run by a sadistic woman. The old man takes us to Georgia, where he beat the devil and now everyone has peaches. It's also one of the prettiest battlefields in the game. He tells us that we have to go and fight the pirates to get his nurse back because he can't trim his beard on his own, and we certainly aren't doing it. So we go to the village and see that women are stabbing each other and men are stealing from each other, and honestly, it seems like a good time all around. Of course, we can't say that because they ought to be sad. We see a purple Disgaea character that is out of place and then go to the throne room. We find that the author of this chapter really wants Shiny Drake to dominate and then kill him. As such, we have to kill Shiny Drake because the regular version is high-key cuter. Don't even get me started on Lost Belt Drake. Oh my god! Shiny Drake has a scantily dressed woman with her we assume is the nurse. Once we beat her, the old man has a shell shock episode and blows up the dam attached to the city and kills everyone. We recruit 3 men to our cause as well as the scantily dressed woman. Next, we target Chinatown. As much as I fault the writing, the environments for this chapter are honestly really nice. We convinced Dayon and Astolfo to cosplay, thus spawning innumerable yaoi dojins. I've not read them, I promise. As I play on a female character, I do not have to cosplay. After infiltrating the city, we kill a dog and then witness domestic abuse. Lo and behold, the Disgaea character is the sadistic ruler of the city, and she's peeling some dude's fingers like a banana. We fight for a while and then Amazons show up. They apparently have a Mega Heracles and sick him on all of China. I just remembered that we have a Shota Fergus here. I completely forgot about him, because quite literally his only beat throughout the story is that he won't hit women who are trying to murder us and that he wants to be a king. This never gets resolved and they instead opt for the most basic ending with him, which we will get into eventually. We escape Chinatown after a building falls on the Disgaea Loli. We recruit a total of 5 men to our cause. Returning to Georgia, we gather to get some well-deserved rest. Only climate change has taken effect and everything catches on fire. A child burns to death and they felt the need to tell us that. As we escape, we encounter the Amazons and take a few of them down. The old man remembers that he was in the Navy and he spawns his boat. Mega Heracles crushes it and sends us all to Japanese Atlantis. We kill Kiyohime's second cousin and then raid his house. We find magic boxes that Da Vinci says are magic boxes. The old Navy man says that he wants it so he can control Mega Heracles, and we're like, alright, this works, now he's the second master of humanity. We go to fight my wife Jeff break those, and then the Amazons do an anti-union call which bolsters their strength but lowers their health. We take down my wife with the power of workers' rights laws and they all stop moving. Would you believe it, this old nursing home patient does the same shit the last one did and betrays us. He laughs at us and chokes on an egg and dies. The singularity doesn't go away though, and it turns out the double cross was the scantily clad woman who makes the cavern floor float to the surface. She made a contract with a hentai monster that would allow her not to die. We get to the story arc with Fergus rediscovering his love for big fat storyteller titties and gains the power to pierce the heavens with his drill. He does so and the woman dies. I think the Disgaea Loli shows up and performs mitosis, splitting into another purple-haired Loli that can summon UFOs. We all fly off into the sunset. There is an after-credit scene implying that the scantily clad woman remembers everything and wants to get plowed like a field by Fergus. After celebrating our triumphant return, we go off on a bender and black out. We see a scene with a third nursing home patient who wandered into the woods and is dying, shaking his fist at an eagle. This means absolutely nothing to us until the last 5 minutes of the chapter. We have no cell reception because T-Mobile screwed us and now we're lost in the woods without being able to summon servants or talk to Mash. Luckily, we run into a bald man with a spear. He's cool and walks with us. Suddenly, the sky turns red and we get attacked by samurai bodybuilders and wolves. As we only have a bald man with us, we are easily outmatched. Thankfully, a cute girl who is not allowed near playgrounds comes to our rescue. She grabs us and runs away at the bald guy's request. While he is holding him off, a clown shows up and puts a red nose on him. It squeaks and he turns evil. We remember that the cute girl was in our last Bender Fever dream and claims to be Miyamoto Musashi, which is a dubious claim at best, but we decide to humor her. She takes us to the house of an angry old man who is actually a young man from a different Fate series. There's also a kid there, I think. He tells us that when the sky goes red, demons appear and murder everyone. Suddenly, the sky goes red, a demon appears and murders everyone. The demon is the bald guy under the clown magic. We set out with Musashi, and thanks to the class advantage and the fact that his NP does no damage, he is easily dispatched. Also, they added a fight announcer for boss fights just for this chapter, and then only ever using it again for Christmas events that are never getting a rerun. The old man kicks us out and tells us we need to go to the castle town of Shimosa. While there, we catch a glimpse of our 4th geriatric escapee, solidifying a pattern. Thankfully, he's just visiting his granddaughter, who looks like Kiyohime, but isn't Kiyohime, but actually is Kiyohime. Kiyohime comes over to us and says that she's never seen us before, but she wants to see more of us. We call the police and she's taken away. We learn that there are 7 heroic spirit sword masters and about half of them use swords. Musashi wants to take them down as soon as possible, and we learn that an army has been dispatched to kill 2 of them already. Suddenly, the sky turns red and an archer who uses a naginata, but claims to be a swordmaster appears. She catches on fire and tries to burn the town down. Our hangover clears up just enough for us to be able to summon servants again, but only temporarily. We chase the confusing weapons fire girl outside and drown her in a river. Then Musashi cuts her in half to permanently kill her. There's an exposition scene of a clown and a group of others talking about how evil they are, and then it ends. Next, we hear tell that an assassin plans on killing Kiyohime. Suddenly, a wild robot MILF appears and tells us she works with the geriatric guy. We ask her how there is a robot in feudal Japan, and she 404s and vanishes. We get permission to guard Kiyohime and she tries to sleep with us. Suddenly, the sky goes red and a girl wearing fishnets and a ribbon shows up in the castle. She summons that one snake from Sekiro and then he eats most of the guards. Kiyohime remembers that she's a berserker and tries to kill us as well. I think because she is a snake. One of our Chaldean servants appears to lend us a hand, apparently able to slip into our mind by getting equally as trashed. It's everybody's favorite hentai protagonist, Kotaro. He helps us to hold back Kiyohime as Musashi cuts the snake in half. We give the fishnets girl a warm blanket and she disappears. Well, Musashi cuts her in half as well, but whatever. Then cut to a scene where Aoyuki and a MILF have killed about 10,000 people. They are our next target. We talk with Kotaro and he tells us that we are in a dream and he thinks that the only way that we can get out of it is by beating the other swordsmen, so we go and hunt them down. The two aforementioned army killers are approaching, and one of them finds us while we're on a walk or something. I am half certain that there is a scene where Aoyuki rips out her heart or stabs us in the stomach to play with our intestines. If that's not right, I just sound like a psychopath right now. Anyway, we go to intercept them and find out that Shuten is now a berserker and Raiko is a rider, and only one of them has a sword. We manage to beat them, and then this becomes the challenging fight that they use for Challenge Quest when you do the Shimosa rematches. Now with more than half the Swordsmasters dead, we feel emboldened. We decide to take the fight to the enemy, when all of a sudden the Blood Moon appears again. People begin to turn into monsters and eat one another. I'm pretty sure everything catches on fire again, and the robot MILF shows up bleeding oil over the floor. Kotaro recognizes her as his mother, which raises at least 3 important questions about conception that are never answered. She then falls over and dies, but not before telling us that our enemy is in the burning castle. Like a bunch of smart people, we run into the burning building to try and kill the enemy inside. When we show up, the geriatric guy was actually the villain, but succumbed to the smoke in the building and died. Now the real villain shows up, it's a version of the but with a more appealing art style, in my opinion, and new updated animations. Through this fight, Musashi is finally able to cut concepts with her sword, and cuts him in half. He laughs and then dies. We then make our way to where the real villain is. We discover a hot clown rambling on about Clussy. He turns into a giant malformed ghost, because we are 3 years from his actual release date. We fight Default Huge Ghost 3, the guy from Fate's Stay Night shows up and gives Musashi a cooler sword. Now she can cut even more abstract concepts, and Data lost the word Clussy from the Urban Dictionary, promptly killing the clown. Everything returns to normal, and Kotaro brings us back to Chaldea, giving us a coffee and refrigerator pizza to finally kill off our hangover. However, we did not consider the fact that since we know the word Clussy, it still exists, and thus the clown survives into the Lost Belts. To resolve the various scenes with the dying old man at the beginning, Regendo shows up and they fight, or he dies, I don't remember, it doesn't matter. In the final Epic of Remnant chapter, we start off with a French guy who looks like a Danganronpa character but isn't even drawn by the same guy, a bird watcher who's stalked by an AI, and a girl with huge tits eating breakfast. I think the French guy is making crepes. He also drinks hot chocolate with egg whites in it, but that might be his Valentine's CE. The consequence of this? To establish that those two are not in great terms. Why is that something that is not addressed more in FGO? A game bringing various cultures and people with drastically different backstories together? Couldn't tell you. Anyway, we get a call from Da Vinci in our Pokedex, and go to the terminal. We observe a large magic field over one of the most horrid, most uninhabitable, most filth-ridden places on the globe, Massachusetts. We learn that anything with technology that crosses the massive two-shits border is destroyed. Through the use of a wooden RC car, they get pictures of Master's huge tits circa 1998. We are told that we need to resolve it, and so we will be teleported inside. Aiding us will be Birdman, French, Bronze Wife, Scary Wife, and a newcomer named Neza, who talks really disjointed, but she's super cute, so it's fine. Also, Mash is coming. So we teleport to the Singularity, and it turns out it's actually set in the Salem witch trials. We land in the woods and we find out that all the servants have manifested. What that means is that all the servants are now pretty much humans. This means a handful of things. They can't use their powers, if they die they are killed, and they can probably get pregnant. In the woods we encounter a girl being murdered by wolves. In response we hit the wolves with a stick and they run away. The girl, grateful to us, leads us to H.P. Lovecraft's house. You can tell that he's important to the story because he has eyes on his NPC. The girl tells us her name is Abby, and her best friend is the Tim Burton character that we're never getting as a servant named Lavinia, a cursed name in literature. Lovecraft tells us that we can stay, but that witches are bad, and because our clothes aren't gray, white, or black, we might be witches. We assure him that we aren't, and that we're actually circus performers. He doesn't believe us, but allows us to stay anyway. He then tells us that the town has been killing people that they thought were witches for a while now. We go into town and everyone looks at us weird. French tries to talk to Lavinia and she runs away. Abby is cute but tells us that she's worried about their slave, Tituba, though I don't remember if they actually used the term slave. Historically speaking, she was a Haitian slave, but now she is on Raid Up as a fox girl. Life is weird like that. Anyway, she's under suspicion of using evil, non-American magic to curse the children. As such, she is taken to the town prison and Abby is sad. We agree to try and break her out, French is against it, Birdman is for it, and they argue. Bronze Mom wants to help, I think Nez is getting drunk at a bar, an execution of some randos happens with a really morbid animation that will never be used outside of this chapter. The dead villagers come back to life that night and we go to fight them. We hear that a witch hunter is coming to town the next day, and then hear gunshots. Half of us go to find out what happened, the other half goes to investigate Lavinia's house. At Lavinia's, they discover that the grandpa of the family is insane and is a witch. At the bar, Neza has been sexually harassed by a sailor, which she didn't mind. She was mad at him for saying that her thighs were too large, so she evaporated him. His friends try to shoot her to death, but being a robot, Chinese sage doll thing, she eats the bullets. When we show up, we apologize and they forgive us once we buy them more booze. We go back to town and sleep. The next day, we discover that Scary Wife is acting weird and not like herself, and convince us to tell her who she really is. Turns out that she is Scary Wife's teacher and also a cute bird girl. Unfortunately, she is like the most well-known mythological witch in history, which doesn't bode well for us. However, she's really cute, so we forgive her. She tells us that she has an idea of how to get our magic back, but it will take some time so the story is longer. The town smells a witch now that the bird has been revealed, and we need to take action to get them back on our side. We deduce that the best way to get on their side is by putting on a play about Christians. Lucky us, our old boss's dad worked at Bible, so we put on a play about Bible. I think that it was written by a golden voice Shoda and a bastard, but I may be misremembering. What, you thought there wasn't going to be an old nursing home patient in this chapter too? Well, think again. He's there, and he is pissed. He shows up on a boat mumbling about how he hates his wife. One of the sailors we fought earlier sneezed in his direction on accident, and he has the whole crew hanged as witches. Once the play is over, we go back and say hi to Abby, who tells us that Lovecraft went away on a business trip to Boston. This makes no sense because the bounded field around us only encompasses this part of Martha Hewitt's. We then learn that the old man blew in from Crazy Town and is accusing people as witches. We watch some other townspeople get hanged in a really graphic .gif file, and then he sets his sights on us. Given that we wear colorful clothing and he assumes us to be witches because no good upstanding Puritan would dare dabble in purple. French flips sides to support the old man because all French people are evil, and now he can try to get Birdwatcher killed. I forgot to mention that there's a good amount of anti-French racism in this chapter, and like 80% of the NPCs hate French for being French. Anyway, he and the old man hit it off pretty well for being murderers/executioners. The old man thinks Braun's wife is his wife and accuses her of being too damn cute. This is punishable by death, and they throw her into the prison with the intent of hanging her. While in there, she learns that Tituba is actually an equally well-endowed jackal girl from the Bible story we told. Braun's wife breaks her out of prison but stays in her place. The old man doesn't care that Jackal Girl escaped and has Braun's wife hanged. We see an incredibly graphic scene of one of the first servants you pulled in the free-to-play gacha die, and Shiniti Animations cries in the corner. Keep in mind that if you die in Malibu Sniffs, then you die for real, so she is dead. Except she isn't because she's a spy and able to fake her own death. Why does she not have a gut skill to reflect this or an animation update? Couldn't tell you. We go out on a walk and encounter a demon clown, but not the same one from Shimosa. He literally has no purpose in the story and then vanishes. Ron's wife joins up with us, Jackal Girl, and Abby, who is having a panic attack. The old man accuses Lavinia and her family of being witches next and has her entire family killed. If you've read the Dunwich Horror, you know why this was a dumb thing to do. As we try to make our way to the coast through the woods, all the people who died are rising from the grave to enact revenge. They kill more people and everything goes to shit. Weird Lovecraftian man-beast horrors that are assassins, I guess, begin attacking as well, kill them and receive 0 stakes. When we get to the coast, we find Lovecraft staring at the sea. The old man follows through the woods with the help of French. Lovecraft disintevaporates the old man, he then and shoves a key into Abby's forehead. This unlocks the door to darkness, and Abby becomes a hentai antagonist. She begins to try to destroy everything, but Lavinia jumps in the way. Abby Squid Games her with a massive tentacle. Given that she invented the Lovecraft class that is strong against berserkers, we can't soul her with a Bonten support her. We do it anyway, though, just to prove that we can. She passes out and returns to normal, kind of. Turns into the last demon god pillar we are hunting down, and our newfound caster friends turn him into a pig. We slow cook him and then he dies. Suddenly, the real H.P. Lovecraft shows up and tells us that he's taking Abby to space. She is in the middle of saying her last words to Lavinia, who then dies and is buried. That's at least 2 child deaths in these last few chapters. Abby accepts this offer and they go off into the universe to do something. We then leave and go home, and learn that the Abby we summoned in Chaldea is not the same one we knew despite sharing most of their memories. We do eventually meet the Epic of Remnant Abby again during an interlude. Alright, the next chapter has Russians and furries.